Hi, my name is Trin Rios, and I'm from Wyoming. One thing we have in Wyoming is a lot of guns and a lot of sheep. If you've ever been to Wyoming, I'm sure you've seen a lot of the sheep that we have. Well, I'd like to tell you a little bit of story about two sheep ranchers in Wyoming. The first of them had found this nice little valley where he could pasture his sheep. Found a nice place, had water, good grazing land, and he got him a big, good sheep dog to help protect his sheep. Not only to protect his sheep, but to herd his sheep around. Sheepdogs are very good at that. And another rancher further down the valley, he also started a flock of sheep, about the same size. And he didn't like the idea of having a sheepdog. So what he did is that the second rancher, he posted his land, built a barbed wire fence around it, and posted it. No trespassing, no trespassing signs. And also put a big sign calling it a wolf-free zone. And he was quite happy with that. Well, that night, a wolf is in the area, in the valley, and he comes up to the first rancher, flock of sheep, and he sees the sheep, and he starts stalking them. Well, at the same time that this wolf saw the herd of sheep, the sheepdog saw the wolf and immediately put himself between the flock of sheep and the wolf. And he's made it no mistake to the wolf that he was there to protect the sheep. Well, the wolf, seeing the sheepdog, decided he wanted none of that, and he trotted on down the valley, where he came upon the second rancher's flock of sheep. Now, he saw the sign, saw the fence, saw the sheep, and he noticed there was no sheepdog. So he jumped the fence and killed several of the sheep. Well, the next morning, the first rancher goes out there and he notices tracks in the sand there of a wolf. So he immediately goes to his flock and sees that all is well. None of his sheep have been disturbed. So he sees his sheepdog, says, "Attaboy," gives the sheepdog a bone. And the sheepdog is happy and the rancher's happy. So now the second rancher comes down to check on his flock of sheep, and he also sees tracks of the wolf. And he looks up at his flock. His signs are okay, his fence is okay, but he notices there are several dead sheep that have been partially eaten. So he gets really disturbed and he decides, "Oh my God, I got to do something." Bigger signs. Bigger signs that say this is now a wolf-free zone. He's happy. So the next night, another wolf comes into the valley. He stalks the first rancher's sheep. He sees him. He starts stalking him. And immediately the sheepdog sees this other wolf and again puts himself between the wolf and the flock of sheep. So the wolf, seeing the sheepdog, decides, I want nothing of this. So he trots off down the valley and comes across the second rancher's sheep. He sees this. He sees the fence, sees the sheep, jumps over the fence, and again kills some more sheep. So the next morning, what happens? The first rancher comes down there, again sees the wolf tracks, checks his flock of sheep, and decides, they're all there, everything's good. Gives an attaboy to his sheepdog, gives him another bone. Meanwhile, the second rancher, when he comes down to check on his flock, he sees the wolf tracks. He looks over into his fenced pasture land and sees more dead sheep. So obviously, The damn sheep can't read the signs. I mean, the wolf can't read the signs. So what happens? He jumped the fence, he killed him. So the rancher, being an astute guy, figures, well, the signs aren't going to work. So he goes out and gets him a sheepdog to protect his flock of sheep. Now, there's a guy by the name of David Grossman, who's a noted author, who's taken the American people and broken down basically into three categories. The first category is, of course, sheep, which about 85% of the people are sheep. He classified them as sheep. That means they're timid, they want to stay to themselves, they would not purposely hurt another person, and they want to sort of in denial that, hey, nothing could ever happen to me, you know. Something may come on the next guy, but not me. So they're in denial. They want to stick together. They're fine, living their own lives, don't want to bother anybody. The second category is sheepdogs. Now, about 5% of the population are classified as sheepdogs. Now, who are these? These people are the police, the armed forces, the first responders, firemen, EMTs, and the new category which we'd call responsible citizens, men and women, who decided to, in order to protect themselves and their family, have taken the training and have become concealed weapons carriers. So they're carrying a gun legally to protect themselves and to protect their family. Now, the third category is, of course, wolves. About 10% of the population is wolves, whose primary purpose is to prey on the sheep who cannot defend themselves. They're very timid. They don't believe that violence exists in the world, or if it does exist, it will not ever come to them. And so they're easily prey for the wolf. There's a kind of an economy, because the sheep really don't like the sheepdogs. They think the sheepdog looks an awful lot like a wolf. He's got big fangs, he growls, and sometimes he's not very kind to the sheep as he's herding them around from one pasture to another. They just assume that the sheepdog go away and leave them alone, so they aren't be a bother. But in denial, they forget that there will always be wolves. And in order to protect the sheep, there has to be sheepdogs. Whether the sheep like it or not, the dogs are out there to protect them. And so what you need to do is protect yourself. And you have a choice. We all have a choice. You can either be a sheep and live in denial, or you can become a sheepdog and protect yourself and your family. All you need to do is get committed to that, to take lessons, get you a proper weapon, get training legally, and follow the law, and you'll be able to protect yourself and your family. The choice is yours. Because we live in a horrible society. There will always be wolves. There will always be wolves. And you need to protect yourself. Funny thing in this current political climate, everybody's against guns. And everybody wants gun control. There's been a lot of violence in schools lately. But, in fact, the left seem to think that, guns control is the answer. Well, a study done by Harvard University and also by the UN has determined that the United States is the largest nation in the world that has the most amount of guns per capita. In fact, it's estimated the United States has 300 million guns. That's almost a gun for every woman, man, child in the country. The latest study actually shows that per capita, the United States ranks #1 in the world of 218 countries. We have 90 guns per 100 residents of the United States. Now, that's a lot of guns. So the left would like you to believe that with all that guns, that obviously we have a very high murder rate. But again, the study shows that the murder rate for the United States is 4.7 per 100,000 residents in the United States. Holy smoke. People would think we rank a lot higher. Well, the #1 country, the highest murder rate in the world, has a murder rate of 90 per 100,000 residents. That country is Honduras. The next 10 countries in the world with the highest murder rates are in South and Central America. You may ask, where's the United States in that ranking? Well, the United States ranks 111 with a per capita murder rate of 4.7 per 100,000 residents. That is amazing. The actual number would be a lot lower if it did not have cities such as Detroit. Detroit is the murder capital of the world, of the United States, and of the world, matter of fact. With a per capita murder rate in Detroit of 57 per 100,000 residents. If Detroit were a country, it would rank second to Honduras with their murder rate. So facts have shown that countries that have the highest guns per population also have the lowest crime rate and the lowest murder rate. Now, the left would like you to believe that the best thing would happen would be take all the guns away from everybody. Well, you've seen the popular signs that say, hey, when they outlaw guns, only guns will be held by outlaws. And that's true. History has shown that every time there is confiscation of the guns from the public, the murder rates go up, the crime rate goes up, and the government has absolute control. For example, after World War I, Germany was soundly defeated. Nazi Germany rose. Hitler took charge of Germany, and the first thing he did was confiscate all the guns from the general populace, so they would not be able to fight against him. After World War II, Joseph Stalin did the same thing in Russia. He created the Soviet Union, and he immediately confiscated all the guns from the people, so they couldn't fight him back. Mao Zedong in China did the same thing after World War II. When he set up his communist regime, he took away all the guns from the people so he could remain in power and rule over the people. So throughout history, dictators, when they get into power, the first thing they do is take the guns away from the people. Now, our forefathers, when they established the Second Amendment, were very smart. They realized that the general populace needed guns, not for hunting and sport, which they do need guns, but the real purpose of the Second Amendment is for the people to be armed so they can protect themselves from the government. Think about that. Think about the gun statistics. The United States leads all the civilized world and uncivilized world in the number of guns we have per capita, but we're way down towards the bottom in murder rates. So just maybe guns are not the problem. It's the people that have the guns that are the problem. Think about that. Also think about, are you going to become a sheep? Stay a sheep? or you become a sheepdog and protect yourself and your family. The choice is yours. So think about it. Take care. Be safe. And may God bless America.